system, a space that would support dialogue, that would support solidarity, and so on. And I would like to discuss in this session before one, two main aspects of this, and they're connected. One is the financial aspect, because even though we try to create this space and it's wonderful and we have fun, we have food and everything, what we're doing here is actually embedded in a real economic reality that I don't consider to be very peaceful. You know, we are charged for things, we're forced to pay, to eat, to travel, to do all the things that we need to do as human beings. And the second thing is the fact that we established a restorative system here at the conference, and that was an agreement that we had all together. So this is what we propose to talk about right now. And I would like to invite Charles to come up and say a few words.
Yeah, so, because I have to leave like real soon, so I'm just gonna say a couple things. Like I go to a lot of conferences, and I'm always, and a lot of the conferences, the topics are very edgy, you know, very new paradigm topics. But I notice a disconnect between the form and the content. You know, the content could be very edgy, but the form is still a really traditional conference, you know, like hierarchical, you know, speakers up there, audience down here, and the whole thing is contained within ordinary money relationships where you pay a fee, you know, it's a certain amount for everybody, and maybe there's scholarships or something like that, but it's very much the old paradigm. And I love this conference. I mean, I almost don't want to call it a conference, you know, because that has so many associations, you know, but I love that they're doing it in a different way here. And it's really important that it works, and that, you know, I know Oliver and the team and many people who have come here have put out a lot of energy. I think it's important not only that it works and the expenses are paid and stuff like that. To me, it's important that it works on another level too, which is that it doesn't reinforce the paradigm of the self-sacrificing activist, you know, who's always putting out more than he or she receives back, and that is almost validating for a lot of activists. That kind of, you know, affirms that you're doing good work, you know, because you're suffering. That's not the kind of world we want to create, you know. So I just really I would just love to see it work on every level for everybody. And when it, and actually I don't even quite understand the exact details of like how people contribute money, when, you know, how it works, but when the time comes to make that choice of how much you'll contribute, I hope that it happens in a spirit of gee, that sounds like a cliche, spirit of generosity. What do I really want to say? Fearlessness, yeah. Trust. Maybe generosity, there it is. Yeah. Sharing, giving, and just like there's this thing, you know, this mindset, and Dominic and I were just talking about this, where it's like it's okay to ask for expenses, but anything beyond that would be indulgent. But sometimes like someone gives me a gift, and they say, Charles, I know this event covered its expenses, but I would love for you to have some money to get a massage or have some money to go to the beach with your children, and I want your life to be good, brother. Like, that's the spirit I want. That's the spirit of peace. I want your life to be good, brother. And I guess I'll just invite you to step into that spirit. And I would love your life to be great, Oliver, and like just exuberant, and yeah. So I guess that's what I have to say about that for now. Thank you, everybody. It's been amazing being here.
Thank you. Maybe go ahead. Thank you.
Thanks.
Whew. See you, Charles. Thank you. And I want to recognize that Charles is also here as a gift. Because I think that...
What about my $10,000 speaker speech?
What about it? I don't know anything about that. De bon argent. Vous avez une blague. I thanked him because I think it's very important to start from gratitude and recognizing what we have received. If we're talking about infrastructures for peace, it's because we realize that you can't just go do peace, be a hero, be a little dove, like in midair, always in midair, like a helicopter with sort of an infinite energy supply or something. I mean, you need support, and this is the whole idea of having an infrastructure. And I want to recognize the support that we've had to come thus far. It's not just Charles, it's Dominic, it's a whole team. There's lots of volunteers. It's Heather, there's singing, and my friend Jack as well. Vishal. I mean, there's so many people that have come and contributed to this event, coming with their whole heart and just really, putting of themselves. And Charles yesterday mentioned, the fact that he wants to tell the stories of the invisible people who make things happen and that are so important and we take for granted. And some of those people are right up here, the interpreters. And I'm so grateful because they help us understand each other, and that's very important. Obviously, we've had financial contributions from many of you, and we're so thankful for those. We've had financial contributions from others who are not here, individuals, who donated on the crowdsourcing campaign that we had. Oh, sorry. The key. I have a key. At the beginning of the summit, I recognized the contributions of the Office Fédéral des Assurances Sociales, which is a federal sort of office in Switzerland, the Fondation Smart Peace, of the Canton of Geneva, who's sponsored a lot of trips. We have 30 people who are fully sponsored to come here, their flight, accommodation, food, everything. And we're here because of that support, and we're here because we also went many steps further, and we decided to take risks. And everything we've done as a team has been a gift because, we're not expecting to get paid for it. But unfortunately, even though we received, so many people come together to actually make something happen, as I said before, we're still embedded in a system that, thinks in terms of merit, in terms of obligation, in terms of, quid pro quo and that kind of value exchange. And so there are many things that actually we have had to pay for. Tickets, airline tickets, the venue, the wonderful food, which I've had a little bit of, and so many other things like that. And so along the lines of what Charles was saying, I just wanted to sort of open it up for discussion, because I would love to know what you're all feeling and thinking. And just to mention that I feel that in order to be able to really... who was here this morning? This morning early, the first session, or yesterday morning? Yeah, I mean the connection circle. And I think Biwa mentioned that when you do heart math and heart mind coherence as a group, it's easier because we affect each other. And I really believe that when we do things as a group, we generate much more than if we just sum up the individual parts. And that comes from a spirit of giving, of gratefulness for what has been received, a recognition of that, and also, again, trusting, that by giving, we will again receive, just as we have. So I'm saying that to ask you to connect with the meaning that this experience has had for you so far, the meaning you think it will have in your life. And really be in that place and try to feel, how much you really are moved to give. And it could be in many ways, It's not just money. But money, as I said, is part of it for now, unfortunately. I mean, this kind of money. So I would really hope that we could have this discussion based on that sense of giving, because this is exactly the spirit with which we have done all of this. And I can see now physically that it has made so much possible. So I feel grateful now for the listening. And that's also something I'm receiving. And I wonder if anybody would like to say anything. I would appreciate it if you could raise your hand before speaking.
I just feel like I want to share my response to the whole idea here and the innovation. I wasn't connected with any of the organizations or alliances here, but going to idealist.org, I discovered GAMIP, and I read about the summit nesting piece, and as soon as I got to it, I had to read through every single page, and I was fascinated. And it related to things that I was trying to do on my own in isolation, and it spoke to me from the heart, and it shocked me. Some of the intentions to crowdsource a huge summit. And that moment, I sent a contribution and was invested in it. I didn't know if I would come. I didn't know how it would work, but it amazed me. And then along the way, as things happened, I even entered a period when I thought, is this real? This is so unbelievable. This must be a scam. They got my money, and I was a sucker, but they did it really well. And so I had my doubts, because you don't see that. People here are trying to do something so different, but so special, and I think that's going to succeed, and it just really reached me, and I'm looking for the ways I can continue giving. So thank you for doing it.
Thank you. What I found in the Systems for Peace is that it's an open circle of giving. So I give to you and you give to someone else. And I feel that in this conference, we've been living the dream that we've been talking about in peace conferences since I've been in the game, which is about 8 years. And it's the first conference where I'm not losing my attention span. I don't feel that I'm wasting my time. And I'm really happy to be here, and I want many, many more to go, and I want the whole team to actually grow and do well and go to the beach and think about other wonderful ideas like that, because I want to be part of that. So in that spirit, again, I want to contribute again, and I feel that it's not, as you said, no, it's not the sum of all parts, it's a lot more than that, what we're achieving. So thank you.
Can somebody help me? Should I go here? I just went in terms of the order. I don't want to miss anything.
that's the first time I speak to here. So I just want to talk about the experience we had about gathering the funds for coming here, because we knew some people couldn't come and there were expenses, and we have an association and some friends, we know friends, and we decided with Roland to write to them to explain the project, our participation, and what was the budget for us, and send a letter away. And people responded for a few. And then we heard that there was 150 people instead of 50 from the last Gamete Summit. So we thought, well, we need to increase the budget. So we write another letter and we say, oh, we need to increase the budget because there's more participants, and we wanted to have material for people to learn about our peace education program. So we write it again, and they responded again, more, double. So it was a nice experience for us, and also I wanted to say that I'm very grateful to be able to talk about this peace education program, which is not very political, it's very individual, but it's our little part. And I know if we can do a little more, but just a good thing for me, because I have experience in crowdsourcing or conferences. Sometimes we organize conference, we have nothing. So I know the kind of risk you're taking. But sometimes it's good to just receive the information. There is a website from where we organize conference, and it's free of charge, there's no registration. People who want to come. But there's just a little needle with the total budget is that, and each time somebody gives, it increases. So it gives a feedback to the donors. And when it's not covered, okay, we ask again, we are there, we need to go there, and it helps. It helps just to give information where we are at and where we need to go. And I thought maybe if we can have just a little information, we can cover it, I'm sure. Okay, thank you.
Is it okay if I respond briefly to this? Yes? Okay. Very briefly, we thought of that, and we have that on the website, and I'm not sure if you saw that. It's not a needle like this, like a speedometer, but it's a bar that goes up, and we've tried to update that. Now it's not very updated because many things happened in the past 2 weeks. But yes, thank you for that. And I also wanted to mention that, for those of you who were here this past weekend, we went through a similar process just for the learning event that we had. And, in that process of giving from the heart, we were indeed able to raise more than what would cover the costs. And, of course, that would just cover the costs that people have charged us. It wouldn't cover our ability to eat or do anything else afterwards, or cover the things that we put in until now. But, it's still a success. I see Dominic wanting to say something. Is that okay? Yeah. No, not next. Okay, so I'm going to do it to Dieudonné.
Thank you. I would like to say that the first time I discovered this way of supporting an event was with Dominic when he first came to 3 years ago in Switzerland. And I was very touched to realize that it stimulated wanting to give twice as I would have for the equivalent event. And I'd like to say that it stimulates something even better than just giving money. It stimulated my creativity and my wanting to contribute in more than just giving money, searching for my own creativity to give to others, to anybody who wants what I have to offer. So, for example, I enjoyed subtitling 4 hours video, which is a heavy job for me because for 5 minutes of subtitle, it takes about 1 to 2 hours. But also, I wanted to say that just before I had the chance, the opportunity to sit at the same table where Dominic and Charles were talking this subject. I was like a rock fan seeing Mick Jagger with the Beatles talking together. But even though they are both younger than me, but what I want to say that the most precious gift we receive here is to waken up our ability to contribute to the beauty of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Dieudonné. Is there somebody who's been waiting for a while? Okay.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say, yesterday, I didn't want to miss the opportunity because Charles had asked about the people who give and are peaceful and are invisible. And I have a story that came to my mind that I didn't share yesterday. When I was very young and walking to school. Right here? Okay, can you hear?
Turn it so that you're talking into
Oh, into here. Oh, this is better. Okay, thank you. So when I was very young and walking to school, and at that stage of my life, I had a stomach ache about walking to school for various reasons. And I passed a woman at her home, and she was in her house dress, or her robe, and she was brushing her sidewalk and her porch. And she had wind chimes on that porch. And every morning I went by there, and she would smile and say, "Good morning." And I then moved from walking in front of her porch to going on to school with an entirely different attitude and feeling that I was supported. I never knew that woman. I never talked to her. And I have wind chimes at my home today. And I never had an opportunity to thank her. And so I think each of us is an instrument of peace if that's where we come from within ourselves. And then it circulates, it ripples out. And right now I just want to thank all of you for giving me an opportunity to thank her, which is something I was never able to do.
I just want to share my story about this whole topic. It's really exciting to me. So exciting, I'm thinking of going to business school to introduce new ways of doing business. But it's all I think about all the time. So I just wanted to share why the gift economy is so important to me. When I was 17, I went to Stanford University, and everyone there was all about making money. And I had also been raised in a community where drugs are really a big part of young people's lives. So I started getting high when I was 11 years old. My basketball coach, got me high when I was 11 years old, and my society trained me to be an alcoholic very young. So I got very into the drug scene very early on. So by the time I got to Stanford, I was a full-blown alcoholic and very deeply involved in drugs of every sort. And I became a drug dealer because in my hometown, that's where the power was. And so I actually sold drugs to everyone, even people who clearly should not have been taking them. And I was addicted to drugs, but I was also addicted to money, and I was addicted to counting money. And I loved counting all the money I made from selling drugs and then using that money to buy more drugs to sell more. And so I had a lot of money, but my soul was so incredibly, completely bankrupt. And I was so hollow and so sad, and I couldn't figure out why. At one point, I broke my pelvis and my spine, and in an earthquake in Chile, And so I started doing more drugs to feel better. And so anyways, it just got to this point where I hit rock bottom. Like Charles was saying yesterday, you know, sometimes you don't change until you're forced to change. So I was forced to change. And this is when people started introducing me to this idea that your intention in everything is what will provide the foundation of your creations. So my intention started changing to, instead of wanting to take, to wanting to give. So I started to give. At a certain point, I was like, wow, I don't want to get paid for anything. I want to give. So I started giving to my community, and I started helping young people in my community stop doing drugs by giving them other types of highs like music and art and stuff like that. And so a certain point came when I just started getting high on giving, and ever since then I felt so alive. And I haven't had a job for 3 years, and I love giving. So I love that you guys are doing this. I was talking to Jean. I was talking to Jean here about it, and she said, well, how do you sustain yourself? Is this work sustainable? And I said, well, I always have food, and I always have a floor to sleep on. That's 2 things that I need, and it's 2 things I always have. And then someone gave me a phone and gave me a computer to do the work. And she said, faith is sustainable. I said, yes, faith is sustainable. So that sums it up. But I just really appreciate all of the organizers for taking that leap of faith to make this happen. And I'll do everything in my power to make sure that net is there to catch you. So, and I encourage you all to do the same. So thank you.
I would like to respond very briefly, just by saying that when we were looking for sponsorship, we wanted everybody to be sponsored. Unfortunately, there were some criteria the Canton of Geneva had that would not allow Laila or Srinath to come just because of the country they come from, because it's too rich, apparently. And I was really sad about that, not knowing them, but feeling like I wanted them to be here. I don't know why I'm tearing up. So I said, I'm really sorry. And I said, maybe you should, I tried to think of everything that they could do. And I said, why don't you try crowdfunding on a website? Because that's what we tried to do for the conference, and we wanted to sponsor all these people through our crowdfunding campaign, and we had no time to really follow through, because it takes a lot of energy to do, crowdfunding online. You have to put updates, and we really tried, but there were so many aspects to this event, and we didn't manage to really do that. And so I said, please try this, and I gave them some information, some ideas, and they ran with it, and it worked, and they're here. And I was amazed just to see this bar, filling and filling and filling. And I was like, wow, they must have done a lot of good. Here's the karma.
Yeah, we raised $6,000 in 35 days to come here to pay for our own costs. And it was 102 people from my community who gave us money to make it happen. So it was great. It's a good experience.
And that to me just goes to show what happens when you give, as Laila has been telling us, of her giving, then she's here now, and I'm so grateful for that. And I think that the gift keeps on giving. So, thank you. Yeah.
Hello. My mother calls me Srinath, and one thing we did to make it an infrastructure of peace while we were crowdfunding is we made a prayer for peace at the beginning of every meeting that we had for crowdfunding, so that every cent of that money is saturated with prayer, not just for who's alive now, but for the children to come, so they can also receive the peace. So it was just a really simple thing, and it made it much more fun and much more financially sustainable. Financially sustainable.
Fun ends. I like it. Hey, I see there was Kazan and this. Okay. I'm going to give this to Kazan.
I have a short story how I joined the peace activities. I am a writer. I have a website, humanityworld.com. And once I wrote about 2009, probably, I wrote a poem on peace. And I started receiving messages from peace organizations and invitations to attend a peace art conference. So I received an invitation from Peace Alliance, and there were two invitations, one for the America and the other for the GAMAP. I registered myself. I had a passion that nature is thrusting me towards peace. So I have been exchanging messages to GAMAP, to Karen, and maybe Karen remembers. I have been sending whether my name is approved, and the Karen sent the message, yes, you are going to attend the conference. So I am thankful to her, and I went there and participated in the whole event. And then there was two offers for the next summit, one from Germany and one from Oliver. So Oliver got through. And I received the invitation, and there were some asking for the donations. So before telling this, I will explain that I am from Pakistan, and in that country, the people think that those who go to participate, to attend the conference abroad, they receive tickets, they received hotel facilities. So my brother asked me whether they send you the ticket. No, I said no. And they will provide you the facilities? I said no. So it's my passion. It's my passion for peace. So this time, Oliver sent the message for donation. I have a passion for peace. I'm going to sacrifice for that. And I will tell you that no family can run without economy, without economics. Always economics is involved. So be generous to GAMAP, I would say, for the next summit. Or this. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, I would just want to say two quick things about sharing and giving. And the first is gratitude, because as we've learned as well over the course of days, communication is two ways. So as much as someone gives to you, I think what's important as well is to express our gratitude for receiving. And part of that is my gratitude to you all for your stories, especially to you, of course, and your story as well, and our emotions, because emotions are also a form of energy. And we're all gifting energy right now. We're all here. We're gifting our attention. We're gifting not just that, but also our work towards peace. Because as Charles was saying, we're not solitary pigeons flying in all different directions. We're hopefully together for one mission, right? And the second thing I just want to say is about gifting and sharing goes beyond just our spaces and where we are here. I mean, I come from different cultures. We all come from different places. And I learned this at Burning Man, that it's gifting every day of our lives. So I'm someone who practices free hugs. and I do this regularly. And you might also know there's also a peace hug movement that's happening now for International Peace Day. So give hugs, give energy, give that positivity. Random acts of kindness, you guys might know this phrase, how people will pay for dinners, pay for parking fines, give change at a supermarket, whatever it is, and passing it forward. So someone does something good to you, do good to someone else. Slowly, step by step, we gift, and we also express gratitude for that gift. And thank you all for this gift of life and this moment.
Karen actually asked me to share first thing this morning, and I avoided it. And when the invisible was mentioned, I knew I couldn't avoid it with this conversation as well. So I'll combine both mentions, and I'll probably cry. I started all of this quite by accident 21 years ago when my family moved. I counted up yesterday, and I've parented for 105 years. Obviously, I have a lot of children, and I started very young. And my children are very appreciative. And a little over a year ago, I was writing and doing my work, and I knew that I sent my husband an email and said I need to go work for the Obama campaign, and knowing that meant that I would relocate because my state doesn't have enough electoral votes. And subsequently, 2 weeks later, I was in a different state working for the remainder of the campaign. And my daughter that lives far away, that we only get together twice a year because of a need she had, decided to come home over Labor Day. And I was crying in Continental Ohio, a town of 300, as I was going door to door for something I believed in, for something that I believed would work for peace. But I was missing my children and my husband very badly back where they were at. And I texted my daughter and told her how difficult it was to be away in that moment. And even if they would have been horrible children for all of 105 years, which they are not, the text I got back in that moment that said, "I am so proud of you, Mom," was enough for all of it. What we can do for each other and for the invisible, and for whether it's the person that puts on Vacation Bible School and you send her or him flowers or whatever, those small things can be huge. I switched to an email that Dot or Kristen or Mike sent, I don't know who, through National Peace Academy, that when I went to the GAMUP website and I saw that logo, I was touched on such a spiritual level that in that moment I decided I would be here. And when I read about the funding, I decided I would give double of what I've ever done to a conference. I've functioned from this model they're describing for all 21 years. And that's meant selling pygmy goats and miniature donkeys and a host of other things that I have resources for because I live in the country. But it's also meant at the time when you feel that tension of, is this sustainable? Suddenly, all 4 children, because of living the peace skills, were given not just full tuition, but full tuition, room, and board for college, and one for her PhD, so that I could continue doing the work I'm doing. That's a blessing that I could have never foresaw. And those are real life testimonies. And that's why the nest that you have created, that I've been emailing to a couple of friends that could not come, and to my family, that their response was, you finally found a home. You finally found those like-minded lights all over the world, and those peacemakers that understand and are trembling even as they speak from the heart to one another. And I want to say thank you for that gift.
Thank you, Oliver. Hello, everyone. My name is Kazunari Fuji, and I work with an NGO. It's International Association of Buddhists called Sokaka International. I just have a few things to share with lovely people, all of you here. But one thing I already want to say first is that I believe that one person is always the starting point to make change and eventually the whole world. This is my strong belief, and without this, I cannot continue work like I do now. I live in Geneva now about 17 years, and my background is actually human rights. I started working in the field of human rights more than 10 years ago. I know I look younger than my age. Everybody thinks I'm young. I'm not young anymore. So sometimes it's hard for me to catch up with the image my colleagues think I should be able to work at that extent, but it's their image. I'm not that young anymore. But anyway, I know Oliver, fortunately, it's a fortune for me. The year he arrived in Geneva, started working here. And I felt, first time when Oliver came to my office and started chatting about Geneva NGOs, this guy has great energy. He's going to make something big here. And he is doing, actually, really. This is one of the things that proves my belief one person can change the world. But again, it applies to every single one of you, one of us, that I want to say this is one thing first. And because I'm working in the field of human rights, and about in the past, more than half of my life, it's much more than 20 years, I'm outside of my own country, Japan. And lately at the UN, there was a very important meeting about the topic of racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerance. Then this specialist, he has an important mandate of the UN on the issue, plus he is the representative of one government. And he said from the podium, recently it's a very prominent new phenomena of these problems of human rights, racism, racial discrimination, and so on. And in the discussion, I had to say, thank you very much for your intervention. It was a very good intervention, but I had to say, it's not new phenomena. Since human history started, it's been in existence always. What is new is the technologies and our access to information to see what has been invisible. So it's not new phenomena. So now, what I want to say to you all is that those who have been keen and interested in doing efforts for peace, being in existence since human history started, always. What has started is access and opportunity and occasions that we can unite and get to know each other. This is one of the things we have here. So there is no need to feel isolated or alone, because like-minded people like us have been in existence over generations through human histories. So what I want to say is that here I see, as every time the meetings and so, in 1999, similar meeting like this was called Hague Peace Appeal 1999 in The Hague. Maybe some of you were there, and I was there too. And yeah, I think I see some people nodding heads. What I feel difference is there was not initiated completely by civil society. It was initiated by civil society already in 1999, but there were lots of governments, all that. Now I see lots of civil society already working all that. So, and through human histories, I mean, when there was an international conference, until recently, just a few decades ago, it was always governments. Now civil society can do it. And so what, I really want to say that, just to finish what I want to share, this is an occasion to verify what just said, and this is an occasion that we can network, but at the same time, we can learn from each other good ways and working methods. Others are doing good things, share and then adapt to one's own activities to make it better. For that, I really want to say thank you so much to Oliver, Nest in Peace, and every single one of you. Thank you.
So, thank you, Kazan. I would like to know if there are burning questions that need to be addressed before we say a few things before lunch. because I also want to make sure we have the time for lunch. So is there something that really needs to be heard, that is felt in the room? Yes?
I was just about to lift my legs because the mic kept on passing above me. So yeah. I don't have a question, but I just want to register my appreciation for this summit. I think we are living in a society that is mainly flooded by issues of disciplines. Like for you to comment on economics, they'll question your credibility. Do you study economics and all those things? And even on peace issues, there's certain constituencies that would require you of having studied peace studies or something like that. But over the past years, I've tried to expose myself to alternative forms of knowledge. And for me, this summit also confirmed that idea that there is something that can be done in a different way. And I just wanted to appreciate that, because when I was following the process of this summit, for me, it was very unique and special in many respects. And I'm actually alluding to the points that we wrote in this journal, because remember, you gave us these journals to pinpoint some of these issues. And the other thing is that Dominic spoke of the idea of the nest, and I began to think more critically and to narrow it down to myself as an individual. What could this nest mean to me? Because I think it means different things to different people. So I thought of an ego and how it conducts its life. And for me, the most important thing is how it treats its eaglet when it intends to graduate them into a new phase of life. So one of those things that it does is to put thorns in the nest so that it doesn't feel the comfort, and it begin to think of leaving the nest and doing something. So I thought, firstly, it was deliberate for you to say the summit will end on Friday so that we don't stay here forever. So with the knowledge and the wisdom, and the great experience that is in this room, I feel some prickling and I'm ready to fly. So I just wanted to say, thank you once more, Oliver, Louise, the organizing team, in particular for offering me this opportunity to be here. I've been to so many summits, but it's always difficult to get something out of them, because you get the usual things are done in a normal way. So for me, this was incredibly different. And I told myself I'm going to learn, and I think I've achieved that, and I'm going back rich in terms of knowledge, experience, and skills. And thank you to everyone.
Yeah?
I'll be very brief. I'll pass on my personal history. I cried enough already. I also have personal economical reasons to thank Oliver and what he did. This is done. Thank you very much. I'm being very happy and to be here, and I hope I share it well enough with every one of you. So far, it's been nice with every one of you. I want to share a very simple idea. It's been in my head, and too bad Charles gone, but it's really straight on his line. We have perishable resources on this planet, like petrol, right? We are 7 billion people on this planet. Every time there is $7 billion of benefit made on petrol, I want $1 for my simple life. Because this is spent out of an earth that belongs to me as to anyone. Here in Switzerland, we have a project to inscribe in the constitution, it will be voted in about a year or more, a basic income for everybody. Everybody receives a life. What a wonderful gift. We have enough for everybody. We know this, or we may need to say it more. Why can't we have all enough for basic lives? Imagine what we would do for peacemakers like me that didn't have the diplomas. Welcome to the new generation who has the diplomas, but be careful what you get into. Look at the other types of economy we get around. Imagine what it would be for the artist. Imagine what it would be for the crippled. Imagine what it would be for the mothers. Imagine what it would be for everyone to be sure that every end of the month you would have a basic income. Share the idea. Thank you.
Thank you. So I know Dominic would like to say something. I'm wondering if the other questions in the room are definitely need to be heard. Because they can be heard at lunch as well. All right, we have another, few days. So,
I want to say how warm I feel hearing all these stories. Do you feel that too? How incredibly nourishing it is for us to share these things that are so moving to us. And that reminds me of a gratitude I have to a great teacher in my life, a man called Marshall Rosenberg, who taught me that the sustainability of activists for peace comes so much through our ability to celebrate the things that nurture us and share our gratitude to each other for the ways in which we contribute to each other. So I want to say that. While I was hearing and feeling so nourished by the things that were being said, I was thinking that one of the many streams that inspired Louisa and Oliver and the rest of the team to organize this event in this way was something that we shared together a couple of years now ago in the Findhorn community. And my contribution to do that came from the decision that work like Restorative Circles, and for me, all work for peace, belongs to everybody. And there should never be any financial restrictions to anybody receiving what they need in order to be able to collaborate to create peace in the world. And that goes all the way back to the people I collaborated with in the favelas, and for whom I learnt this principle of giving away what it is that we have. So I want to celebrate that we've done things like this, and I want to put another little thorn in the eagle's nest, because the people who I learnt to do this with from the favelas are not here. And that, for me, is the edge in our learning of how to create a social economic system that works for us. So I want to celebrate it at the same time, and I want to mourn it, that this amazing feeling that I'm having as I listen to your gratitude, they're going to hear it secondhand and not firsthand. And I really look forward to future events like this, where there's even greater inclusion. In English, we can say that something is priceless. And when we say that, it means that it doesn't have a price, but also that it can't have a price. So it's my understanding that peace is priceless. It cannot be sold. It cannot be quantified in material terms. And what's so moving to me here is that even with all the limits that we have personally and collectively, we're saying peace is priceless.
Thank you. And in fact, I do want to stress this point, that the reason we're doing all of this way, it's not because we really need a challenge and, gosh, what could I do not to be bored? How can I stress out a little bit? Help me out. It's because I really, truly believe that these things that we're talking about are so important for peace, to create a culture of peace in a sustainable way. And I think everybody needs to have access to this. And we've done our best to include those who would not otherwise be able to participate. So this it's not just, it is a practice run to create different systems, but it's also a way to truly have an impact, for people to really be able to be nourished by this. And I love that You know, it is in the practicing of these principles ourselves and our own learning right here this week that we can also nourish others later in very real ways. So we are just about to go to lunch, and before I lose your attention, I think a lot of you may be wondering what are the practicalities of this whole thing. And we have today, we have tomorrow, we have Friday. But we wanted to start this conversation now. And we are going to put this in the middle of the room. There are pieces of paper and envelopes here. And this is just a space where if you can connect with something true within you that inspires you to give anything, and anything additional on top of what you have already given, because all of you here, as Nicola said, you're here, your energy already. Then if you want to give anything more, please write it down on a piece of paper and you can put it in an envelope. What happened during the weekend was that some people also decided to actually just put money here. And this is just as a space for expression of that gratitude. And after this happens over lunch, then we will come back to you with more information, very specific information about everything that we were able to do and numbers from this and from also the past opportunities that you've had to contribute and that others have had to contribute. Yeah? Thank you. Wait.
You can donate online, right? Okay, I'll be doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, you can donate in cash. You can donate online. You have our banking information is on our website. You can do a bank transfer. You can also do it through PayPal, even though PayPal charges 4%, but that's a possibility as well. And if you have any other needs to contribute, then please let us know. Huh? Oh, and those who are online, of course. Thank you. Yes, in fact, I wanted to mention, hi everyone, that we're being live streamed. So if any of you know people who would like to follow the summit, they can do so online at gamup.org/live. Okay. So I hope that energy and I hope my message is clear. Can I get a sense in the room about how people are feeling about this process? Yeah? Please come to any of us if you have any doubts, any questions, any concerns. Yeah. What?
Restorative system.
Yeah? You want to say something?
I just want to remind you to do that little bit of feedback about restorative system before we go to lunch.
Yeah, but I am blanking right now on what to say.
I was just going to give feedback about the system and say goodbye.
You want to say that? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, when you're ready.
Yeah, right now.
Okay. Tiny update about the restorative system as we let all this sink in. We have, in part because Sissy and I will be leaving tomorrow morning, so this is our way of saying goodbye to you all at the same time. But excitingly handing over our system to you all at the same time too. So we have a very lively board out there, as you can see. I loved arriving here on Tuesday morning and seeing that one small piece of paper from a flip chart had become 5 or 6 pieces of paper on that board, and knowing that had nothing to do with me or Sissy, because we weren't here. So we have 4 circles that have been called so far that I'm aware of, that have been registered there. 3 of them are in progress, and 1 of them has already happened. There have been many individual meetings of pre-circles, and then 2 circles already begun, 1 completed, and 1 still happening, and another just about to begin, and then another we're not quite sure when that's going to be scheduled. We have the results of the first circle, which was about, it was an organizational issue of the summit itself, about translation and inclusion. We have some really lively action plans that came out of that, including things directly related to this, like how to find people who speak different languages, who can sit with people who are not able to express themselves and to understand others because of linguistic issues. And also some related themes, such as someone who speaks that language who's willing to show parts of the city to the person who would like to get to know Geneva while they're there. So I found it a very nourishing experience to participate in. And I want to give you that feedback that this is happening, this is underway. There are a number of people who have written down their names as co-facilitators on the board. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are willing to keep managing the system for Thursday and Friday, but it probably means that, unless we come up with another strategy, that they will be the point people if you have questions about the system. So you might want to consider speaking to those people. But the next opportunity to really engage will be in the open space sessions at 1:45? 1:45 on the blue sofas, where there's an open space session around the system and learning to facilitate. So the next place where you can engage with the people who are taking care of this will be there.
And I also like to say that we are leaving tomorrow, and I started facilitating a peer circle about a circle that was initiated. And I would like, please, someone who is willing to host the process, to facilitate, to come to me so I can pass it through, so it doesn't stays with me if I'm leaving tomorrow. And I don't want to be, I want it to go forward. So if someone is willing to facilitate, please come to me, and I will pass through the process.
Thanks for the wonderful Jenny.
No, you keep it. Okay, so now it's just logistics. I know you love those. Who's hungry? That's a logistical issue for my body. Okay, so when you go out, you will see there is the open space schedule. Okay, there are 4 sessions planned. One is the reserve circle practice, and there are 3 other ones that are happening at the same time. I just wanted you to remember that we're going to the museum today because it's Civil Society Day and Infrastructure for Peace by civil society, and we're going to experience the example of a museum for peace, the Museum of the Red Cross.